Solomon,
I'm
and
back.
you're back.
It's so good to be back.
Yes, it's so great to have you back.
Let me have some of my water. How's your Lipton?
I don't drink Lipton, I drink Mango. What happened, Solly? What made you you?
I think I was always pretty much like a happy child.
Okay.
Personality-wise, I haven't really changed much. There was like a period in my life that I did become shy when I left Rhode Island, and I was like thrown into Connecticut, coming from Rhode Island and living in Waterbury. It was like a big culture shock. But for the most part, I was always the same. But yeah, I did have some trauma that like kind of shaped me as an adult that I do need to get past, but also it helps me a lot in certain things in my life. But pinpoint, what year do you want to know?
What year? Oh my god, I feel like I have to pull out of a hat or something. Geez.
Age group, whatever.
Age group. Okay, I'm gonna go to the age 12.
12. Okay, so that's a good age. It was a terrible age. Terrible age for me, but good age
but
to talk about.
Terrible.
My mom passed away when I'm 3. My dad's like a certain way with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking we were growing up poor because I'm not getting like Christmas gifts and all these gifts and like Christmas, birthday, all this. I'm not getting taken places. I never went on vacation. I never went to Disney World or anything. My father put no effort into making sure I had a good childhood. But so I was like, oh, I think we're just poor. And then I remember like when my dad was like starting to marry this woman, wooing her, and now he's like taking trips to Brazil to go see her. Back in the day, there used to be MSN. So like everybody, it wasn't Gmail, it used to be Hotmail. And then MSN Messenger had like chats. And my dad met this woman in a Portuguese Christian chat site. So, so I'm watching him buying this woman a whole bunch of expensive gifts, perfumes, jewelry, taking flights to Brazil. And like from the US to Brazil, especially when you're in like New England, that's far. It's like 1,000 something, especially like back in like the early 2000s. That's like a lot. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't think we're poor. So I had to watch that and be like, oh, like my dad, it's not that we're poor. It's just my dad doesn't think I'm good enough to even give a good child. And it's not always about materialistic things, but it's like we did have the means.
Right.
And it's not that you're just cheap. It's that you don't care enough to make me happy.
Yeah.
As my dad is like going back and forth to Brazil. Now I graduated 6th grade. I'm here in Connecticut for summer vacation with my family. I had a family member that ended up taking me in. She created this whole lie saying that DCF showed up to the house because my dad abandoned me. So that's what she told the family, because I guess the family kind of knew she wasn't trustworthy and she's very sneaky and manipulative. So she kind of like tricked me and like turned me against my own family. And this is at 12. I'm being manipulated to like start to hate and resent my father's side.
Yeah, an adult is really manipulating a 12-year-old for...
When my mom passed away when I was 3, I don't know if I'm like getting... The details might be a little bit like off, but I know that I was getting Social Security money. So from my understanding, I think it was like whatever she put in towards Social Security for her retirement fund was actually going towards me, since she passed away too early and then she had a kid that was under 18.
Okay.
So whoever would take me would end up getting that.
Right.
So to this woman, she kind of saw me as a paycheck. It kind of hurt hearing it as a kid, but you don't know you're being manipulated.
Yeah.
So I kind of did have like some form of resentment towards my father's side. And she said, because my dad was not only did he not buy me stuff, I was bullied heavily. So I had like 2 pairs of pants. I had like holes in my clothes. I literally was like, Harry Potter had it better off than me. Let's just say that. Yeah, my dad would just not buy me anything. I would go like months without a haircut. He just put in no effort in to take care of me. He just fed me, and literally that was it. So, my family would like, when I would come down for summer vacation, they would all like chip in and like buy me new sets of clothes. But, I'm like 6'3". This is how tall I was when I was 14. So I grew really quickly.
Yeah.
But I remember this guardian saying to me when she was trying to convince me, she's like, this is the lie we're going to come up with. We're going to say that DCF showed up to the house, and because your dad didn't give temporary guardianship to anybody while he was in Brazil, they're saying that he abandoned you. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. I was like, well, how do they know? Like, I'm like, we got to get some details. They're not going to ask all these questions.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I'll take you in. She was like, I know how abusive daddy was. And she was like, this is your only chance. And she was like, everybody else on the side, like dad's side,
Yes.
knows that you're being abused and nobody's helping you.
Okay.
So let me help you. And then I kind of had this resentment because I'm like, because I was like, oh, well, lying is wrong. But now you're putting it that way. I'm like, yeah, none of them did help me.
Right.
And then she was like playing. I'm like, girl, she was chess master.
So she made it seem like she was taking care of you and doing the best. Okay.
She's like putting things in my head. Then she's like kind of keeping me away from like my father's side. This is before cell phones.
Right.
Well, there were cell phones, but I didn't have one,
Right, right.
So the only form of communication is through her. So she's telling them like, oh no, we already have something planned with him. And then he doesn't really want to go. He kind of thinks that's childish. But I really did want to see my father's side. And then she was telling me that my father's side was getting mad at me for going and turning against my dad.
Okay.
So she's like putting, like
Yeah,
playing both
she's mixing
sides.
it up a bit. Yeah.
So as soon as I remember, it was like roughly around my birthday, as soon as she got permanent guardianship over me, a switch just shifted in her.
Okay.
And it was like, so I was like, okay, well, my dad was like mostly physically abusive.
Yeah.
Somewhat verbally abusive, but like now I'm getting both. I'm getting
Yes.
like full on like mentally abusive, like playing gaslighting, playing these mind games.
Okay.
I'm a child, physically abusive, and then it's like here we go again, where it's like, well, now I'm not getting the clothes again. You did it to like appease the family, like, oh, I can take care of Solomon. Like you guys didn't step up,
Right.
And now you have me, and you're cashing your checks, girl.
Right.
And I'm not getting the clothes. I'm not getting haircuts.
Yep.
So I didn't see my family for so long. And I remember I'm like, oh, here we go again. But I'm like, now it's like manipulative, like mind games to make me feel fucked up. So Thanksgiving, I was allowed to go to my mother's side.
Okay.
And my mother's side kind of knew. And like growing up, I didn't like it. It was kind of annoying. But like, I come from a very old school, like, I'm first generation American. So my family kind of kept the customs.
Right.
And like, I'm like, okay. Like, even my grandmothers would be like, oh my God. My mom's mom, she was the one that would like say stuff that I would get annoyed with. She's like, oh, like, what is he going to become? He doesn't have a mother. A child that has a mother is going to become nothing. I'm like, okay, bitch. Like, I'm going to become something. Like, it's not.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, like, I was babied a lot with both my grandmothers.
Okay.
Because I had the whole, like, he doesn't have a mother thing.
Yes.
And he was so young and da-da-da. And then just seeing how I was treated with, like, my dad. And then now they're seeing it with my sister.
Right.
It's like, you're saying you're stepping up, but you're really, like, worse than my dad.
Right.
And I remember my dad really didn't put much effort into... He did call. He was like, she's manipulating you, da-da-da-da. But I remember he just did not put much effort to fight for me, to get me back.
Okay. It's interesting, though, because your dad said she's manipulating you. And it's like... the abuser is talking about manipulation, which, okay, yeah, the abuser should know what manipulation is, but for him to kind of try and talk to you about it.
To my dad, strict conservative Christian, old school, was born in this country called Cape Verde. It's going to sound bad if, let's say you're telling your spouse to not do something and you keep on telling them to do it, then you slap them across their face. That's abuse, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So now, why would you slap a child across the face or grab a belt and beat them, or a hanger?
Yeah.
Because they made a mistake. Because
Right.
they're learning this world.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the culture. I don't know exactly what it is, but that is a thing. That is for sure a thing whenever it comes to a child not knowing how to do something because they're learning and then the parent getting frustrated. It could just also be like them projecting their own irritability and anxiety.
I think it's that as well. You don't do it out of love. Like, when you're, there's
Yeah.
anger in
Yes.
your voice, like, especially when you tell me, because I used to dodge them. The belt hits, I used to do this, like,
You
every
dance
time my dad
around
would
it?
swing, I'd be like, to, like, not get
If
hit.
your dad didn't know you were gay then, like, I don't know. Like,
The best way I could describe it is like when Michael Jackson like goes on his tippy toes and like I'd be like, dodging. He's like, stop moving. So then he would like push me up against a wall, and I'm like, oh, like,
this isn't funny, but it's funny. Like,
let me tell you. But yeah.
Okay, all right.
Maybe that's why I'm a good salsa dancer. But so like some of the stuff that I took from everything that was going on as a child into my life now as an adult, and basically like wrapping it all up, like she just like kept me separated. And I remember like as I'm growing, there's like these triggers that are like it's crazy to say, but I still have nightmares of living with that guardian.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
And to think about it, like, I don't have nightmares of my dad and like the abuse I went through with my dad, I have nightmares of my guardian.
Is it nightmares or PTSD?
I think it's nightmares, but I do have certain triggers. Like I'm very hyper focused on emotions because again, you need, as a child, everything you're learning as a child is survival. At the end of the day, humans are animals. But one thing I notice is from like the abuse is like trying to, and I don't have an abuser now, but like being very keen with body language and the way somebody's walking. I have great peripheral vision. So it's like, you know, how they're breathing and stuff. A little shift in their energy. Breathing. I'm like, what's wrong? Did I do something wrong? And now I feel like, oh, and then I start to get panicky where it's like, oh, what did I do? Da, 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 da. And like, oh, they're mad at me. Because I'm very good at reading energy now. And like, you know,
reading
language.
Energy or reading negative body languages as a survival mechanism for yourself?
Energy, but then the body language kind of, like I can, as soon as somebody walks into a room, if they're in a mood, I can tell. And then once I don't say anything right off the bat, and then I start to see body language that's like, okay, I am in the right. So bringing it back to when I was a kid, it's like, okay, when the guardian's coming in the house, what kind of day is it going to be?
Yeah. Even having a parent that's an addict or an abuser, you know, those people also pay very close attention to exactly what you said, how they open the door, how they walk up the steps, because you need to know how to behave so they don't take that anger out on you. Yeah.
I do think I have like a sense of like a stronger sense of empathy for people because I've been through a lot as a kid. And so now I'm like, okay, I know that I would have wanted somebody there for me at this point in time. Maybe I can't help you with, I don't know, like
with the full
your relationship troubles,
right?
Or your bills or whatever, or whatever you're stressed about school. But like maybe I can just
support
make you a meal because I love to cook. So like, let me make you a meal and I'll drop it off to you and be like, hey, just, you know, but I hope this makes your day go better. Just so people know that like their problems aren't just theirs alone.
Right.
And they have somebody to listen to.
Right. Oh, that's so nice.
Again, we view the world in a certain way depending on our childhood trauma. I had like this toxic situation, treated me like trash, literally told me I will never treat a 4 right. Because I would be like, why do you do these things? Like, why do you constantly hurt me? And I think what hurted most was we started off as friends and it would be like a back and forth thing where we were like talking and hooking up. And then it was like, oh, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I think I just want to stick with like women. And I'm like, okay, like if then do that. Don't come back to me every time that you're like second guessing it.
Right.
Where I'm like, why are you saying these things? They're deliberately trying to hurt me. And it just couldn't comprehend the thought process behind it because I'm like, I'm your friend and I'm watching you treat random people, especially women, like you treat these women better than you're treating me, but you're constantly pursuing me.
Right.
But you're putting more effort into people that you barely know.
Right.
But with me, your friend that you have history with.
Yes.
Before the hooking up and all that, you like deliberately hurt me and say these things. We shared a friend group. Ended up everything came to light that we were hooking up. All my friends had an idea because the way that he would act when he was drunk. And then he kind of like slipped up about it. And then they were like, yeah, we kind of figured that you were like gay or whatever. And then he was like, oh no, like Salman said something to you. And they were like, no, it's just how you've been acting all day today. And now that you said that, now we've kind of always had a feeling. So you just confirmed it for us.
Right.
A lot of people did take a side, or they're like, oh, we're not taking sides, but they would still hang out with him more. They would like flake on me to hang out with him instead, and it kind of hurt my feelings because I went from like having like this big solid group. So I was kind of like depressed, and I was like lonely, and that's when I was really taking my spirituality serious.
If we're gonna talk about our childhood and how it now trickles down into our adulthood, like, how have you grown from this? Someone else, another person that you were close to, that you trusted, manipulated your whole friendship.
So, you know, I'm getting into my spirituality. So I started going to this place in New York City, and the title for the workshop was Turning Lead into Gold. So when I go, they're like, okay, what is the lead that we're holding on to that we can actually learn from and turn that trauma, that bad event, whatever it is that's negative, how can we turn it to positive? I feel betrayed. I feel alone, I'm depressed. And, so I tell the people the situation. 'Cause I felt also dumb. It was like a lot of stuff was said and done to me that I like put up with because I'm like, oh, I feel bad because, like their childhood. And I would always like make excuses for the person.
Yes.
We're going to meditate on this. And then it's kind of like put me in a hypnosis. Mm-hmm. And they're like, they're telling me to count down and stuff. And the best way I can describe the feeling, because I was like out. The best way I can describe it is like in Get Out with the coffee cup or the teacup, and then he falls. Dinging. Yeah, and then he falls into the couch, into the further.
The sink. I said he falls into the sink. That's crazy.
So, everything's pitch black because obviously my eyes are closed and I'm like, I feel like I'm sleeping, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like so relaxed. And then they're asking me like, oh, certain things, certain events that I told them already, but like, how did that make you feel? As I'm speaking, it's not me speaking.
Right.
I'm speaking, but I feel like it's my subconscious, or how they like to call it is like my higher self. The thing that really scared me is when they asked me, they said, well, why did you put up with all this stuff that he did to you if you knew that it wasn't right? And I was like, because of my childhood. And they were like, okay, what about your childhood? Girl, I was young. Don't judge me.
No judgment.
I kind of got to the point where I'm like, I don't care about the women. You can sleep with women, but I won't tolerate men. And that's what I like kind of compromised. I was like, if it's a man, I'm done. Like, walked off clean.
Yeah.
So as I'm talking, they're like, why did you put up with this? Why did you put up with this? Like, where is this stemming from? And I bring up my dad. Mind you, this is like my subconscious talking. I would watch my dad always spoil, like I'm his only son, but he would always spoil every new wife that he would have, where I wouldn't get clothes and I wouldn't get gifts and like, no Christmas, no birthday. I don't have those happy memories with my family as a child. Right. I was always competing with a woman, and then I was like, that's why now it triggers me when these men that are like, oh, I don't know what I want, you know what I mean? But with women, I feel like I compete.
Mm-hmm. Your 12-year-old was competing.
It was me as a child competing with these women. That's why I was putting up with it.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, now I know why I don't like. Mm-hmm. Because back then, I didn't care about my birthday. I never wanted to do anything for my birthday.
Yeah.
And
it was because you never got anything. So if your person wasn't finding it special, then why would you find it special?
Exactly. So I was always ready for disappointment for my birthday and for Christmas, not getting gifts. So then I'm like, so now I like shut myself off, and I'm just learning.
That's why you wouldn't do brunch
for my birthday.
Yeah, I know it snowed, but I was like, all right, so then reschedule, and you were like, no.
Yeah.
You're so annoying, bro. Okay. I mean, I know.
Wow,
I know. I just wanted to get. I know.
What a psychologist. Yeah, that's kind of like for my child. I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to be a bother. That's why I kind of like. Maybe I don't know if it's avoidant attachment, but one thing I always do is I kind of just give up on certain relationships because how I feel is I give up on certain relationships and friendships because I'm just like, if you wanted to, you would. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I always felt like me having to tell you, you don't want to do it, but I watch you do with other people that I kind of just want to preserve my peace and my sanity and not hurt my ego any further than you already are, that I just have to like give up.
Right.
So like there's certain things like when I just didn't want to be a bother to everybody and like.
Yeah. No, I get it. Not wanting to be a burden, not stress everybody out. But I mean, Sally, what are we doing to move past this?
I need to like get back to knowing myself so I don't fall back into certain traps again.
Good. I'm glad that I think you're like I feel like the first step is recognizing what your trauma is and then when it comes up. Mm-hmm. So, I mean.
That's like, so I was told by a psychologist that I'm too self-aware because I wanted to focus like, no, I know that. I know this trauma. I know it's because of this. I know why I do everything, but I wanted to just stop it.
So.
But also, you have to find like a therapist or somebody that kind of relates to you. And I think finding somebody that's within your culture, your demographic is very important as well.
I think so. I definitely think so too. So if you know why all these things are happening and you know like your behavior towards it, why do you keep doing it then?
I think I have this mentality that I'm meant to always be there for people, even though it never pans out for me in the long run.
Okay. So do you think maybe that's the step that you should look into? The reason why you want to always be there for people, even though you don't need to be there for people all the time?
I think I know. I think it's, again,
here we go.
more...
Here we go with the self-awareness. Okay.
Yeah, no, see, I cannot be therapized or whatever. That's my problem, is like always having to be there because I feel guilty if I'm not there for people.
Right. Okay. I think you should maybe look deeper into your past on that guilt. Why do you want to help so badly? Like, why do you want to be a helper besides wanting to cure someone's feelings that you felt?
Honestly, I just think it's like...
Just because no one was there for you kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, not you saying... Oh, you're dropping truth here. I didn't, and I just like agreed. No kid should know the day, like the year, the how many months, and how many days until you turned 18. And that's how traumatized I was living in that house. Like I never really self-harmed, but like the thoughts were there.
Right.
And it would have been easy to do an attempt. And luckily, like that kept me sane. Was to always like, hey, it's gonna end. It's gonna end.
So what keeps you sane now?
It's alcohol.
Yeah, Solomon.
Girl, I don't know what you're saying. Maybe I need something. I need to crochet or something.
Crochet.
I think now talking to you, it's the hope that I'm going to give my child, like, my childhood self viewed my life to be a certain way, and that's what's keeping me forward. Now I feel like I'm just procrastinating because I'm just like tired. I'm tired of like constantly like pushing and having like so much hardship.
Yeah.
And like, yes, that was in the past, but it's like damn, when can I relax?
Yeah.
You know? But like, I just don't want to have an average life because again, everything that I went through as a kid would have been all for nothing if nothing came out of it. Like I just became average.
Okay.
And I think that's what keeps me going. Is like I have to give myself that life.
You have to give that purpose. You have to fulfill your purpose.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Thank you, Solly, for coming on here.
You're welcome.
And talking about your trauma. I don't know how to end this. And that's it. And that's how you're gonna have me sending it, reading your messages. This is crazy. I'm done.
You're struggling. Okay, cut.